Thanks for joining us for the tip of the month video. This month, we're going to dive into the Job Tabulation Report. Do you frequently want to check in on the status of a specific project or job? Are you looking to get a quick glance of where you currently are on a project? But you also want the details of what has been completed on that project, including shipments, invoices, all of that. If this is something that you frequently want to look at or just occasionally kind of check in on, this is going to be a great report for you to utilize. This is definitely something that can provide you a lot of information, both specifically on individual jobs or a couple jobs as a whole. So to find this report, you're going to go into aSa, projects, jobs, and then the reporting section underneath jobs. And this is going to take you to the screen that I am on right now and go down to the Job Tabulation Report. So let's go ahead and dive into the Job Tabulation Report. You'll notice here we have our three areas like we do in all of our reports. We have our header, our sort, and our options page. So this gives us the ability to, on the header page, to be able to filter. So for this instance, for instances where you want to drill down into a specific job, I can go ahead and say job is equal to, and then I can go ahead and type in my job with our wonderful type ahead feature. If you need to add more, you can absolutely do that. If you want to look at a couple jobs or two jobs specifically, or a couple jobs that are specific to one customer, we can go ahead and do that. And then we'll jump over to our sort page. So our sort page gives us the ability to do exactly that, is sort based off of the available fields. We also have the ability to group, foot, and page break with these options listed here. So if you want to group by customers or customer job, you can go ahead and do that. And then last but not least, on our options page. So on our options page, this is where we have the most of our options to really change up this report, look at it in different ways, and be given different types of information that we may or may not need. So first and foremost is our option here, whether we want to run this report in summary or in detail. So our summary is going to give us basically summarized display sections that are going to be a lot more simple. They're going to be based off of your product class. If I want to look into more detail in regards to our estimate versus our actual section, this is going to give us a list of all of our products instead of our product classes. So you'll get to see a lot more detail in regards to what bar sizes, what accessories, and have that further broken down depending on what you want to see for this job, for instance. So I'll leave it on summary for now. We'll go back and run it in both ways so you can see the difference. And then we have our sections to include. This gives us the ability to do our estimate versus our actual. So what this actually does is it pulls in both the estimate/project pricing information and our actual. So what have we shipped? What have we invoiced? And it gives us that comparison of seeing what was quoted, what was set up on our estimate and our project pricing, what was actually estimated at the beginning of the project versus where we are currently with that project. So we have that. We have our change orders. If you have a bunch of change orders or changes along the way in that project, you can include these so that way you can see all of those changes reflected within this report. And then we have our shipping tickets and invoices. So this is going to create an additional page within the report that is going to list out our shipping tickets and our invoices so we can see that all of them that have been done so far in the status of this project. Our escalation, this can provide escalation details. I'm going to leave this off for this. I do not have it set up for this job. And then our cash receipts. So what cash receipts were done applied to our invoices against this job, and correspondence notes. And then we have down here, we have our balance forward as of date. So in this, it'll give us, if we set a date here, in the areas that display balances, what it'll do, it'll calculate the balance off of the as of date for those balances in those areas. For the replace shipping ticket date and number with sales order, what this gives you the ability to do is Instead of the areas that normally display the shipping ticket info, it'll replace that shipping ticket information with the corresponding sales order ID instead of that shipping ticket information. And then show posted shipping tickets only. So this is only going to pull in posted shipping tickets only. So any shipping tickets that are sitting out there that are shipped but not yet posted, meaning the inventory hasn't been relieved and it hasn't been finalized, then it's not going to go ahead and pull that onto this report. And then actual values based on, so we have our actual values based on the ship to date or the invoice to date. And then we have show by WBS level. So for jobs that are organized by the WBS level, it's going to show the totals based on each level, depending on what option you select here. So either the minimum required level, So our minimum required level is going to show totals based on the level at which the material must be entered. For none, it is not going, it's going to show the job total as a whole. And then for pricing level, it's going to show the totals based on the level at which pricing is applied. So depending on how you have that WBS level set up, this is how this report is going to organize and run this report for that WBS level. And then we can go ahead and run this off of pricing level. And so display estimate versus actual by fab class. So what this is going to do, we're going to want to check this if we have fab classes utilized within this project. So it's going to display the details for those fab classes. Examples are heavy bent, light bent, straight bars. So if you're actually utilizing those fab classes within the estimate versus the actual report section, it'll go ahead and include the details within that section for you. And then we have our shows zero values as. So we can go ahead and choose how we want the zero values to pull into our report. So default's just going to set it up how you have it defaulted within your system, or if you want to change it for any reason, you can go ahead and do that. And then shading. Shading gives us the option whether we include the shading on the report or not, depending on if you like to view it better with that and it helps break things down a little bit better. And then also the last option is to be able to show the filter. So the filter is going to print on that printed report to show you exactly how you filtered that report. So if you have a job breakdown, it's sorted and whatnot, then it'll show you on that header page of the report, it'll show you what filter is actually set for this report. So now that I have my options, my filters, and everything that I want to include on this report set up, let's go ahead and run it. So let's go ahead and preview this. And then this is going to bring up the report. So we have a couple pages here, as you will note up here. This front page here is kind of a cover page. It gives us a lot of that basic information about this job. So information that you set up on the job, whether you have PO numbers, any kind of dates, payment terms. And then down here, you'll see our totals. So our total job rebar pounds, our sales value, our total job rebar value. And then over here, you'll notice there's a different total. It's the lump sum job, so sales total, and the lump sum job rebar value, which is obviously different than the total value. If, for say, you have a job that is primarily lump sum, but has a couple items on it that are unit price in addition to the whole lump sum contract amount, which this job does. If I go to page 2, right now I am running it in the summary version, and as I mentioned earlier, I mentioned that the summary version on this estimate versus actual portion is going to break things down by product class. So here you'll see that we have our product class for the different areas of this project. And we have our revised estimate. So our revised estimate is going to include any of those change orders based off of the cumulative changes within that project. And then we have, in regards to, this is the quantity. So our shipped totals, our shipped quantity, I should say, to be specific, and then our percentages of how much was completed. And then we have the dollar amount. So this first part is the estimate versus actual for the quantity. And the second portion is the estimate and the shipped portion for the dollar values. So you can see that there with their estimate, shipped, any extra, so any extra to contract, and then the percentage. And then you'll notice here that it gives us that breakdown for the total lump sum value, and then also the total for the unit price value. So as I mentioned, there is an item on here, our freight item, that is unit price and not part of the lump sum contract value. If I move over to page 2, this is going to be our page for change orders. So if you have change orders set up, they'll go ahead and list out your change orders that are part of each of these product classes, and then give you that revised amount. Page 4 here is going to be our shipping tickets and our invoices listed out. So we have our ship date, the shipping ticket. You'll notice there's some symbols, so I chose to include shipping tickets that are not posted. If you recall, that is one of the options back on the options page that I could go ahead and exclude those if I wanted to. And then we have our invoice not posted as well. So there are a couple invoices out here that are not fully posted. So this gives us our information in this grid for that shipping ticket, the sales order associated with it, the invoice date, the invoice, and then our sales amount. So not only will you see the invoice listed here, but you'll even see the shipping tickets that are not fully invoiced yet. And then you'll see their sales amount, freight amount, sales tax, total amount, any retainage that is part of this, and then the rebar pounds that have shipped. Once again, you'll see that there's the lump sum total versus the unit price total. And then our final page is going to be the cash receipts that are applied to those invoices. So you will see that we have a couple invoices that did receive payment against them, and they are listed here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back and I'm actually going to switch this report to now run it in the detailed version so you can kind of see that difference between the summary and the detail. A lot of that difference is going to be here on page 2 in regards to the estimate versus actual. So now you're going to see that this is actually providing you detail all the way down to the product level. So you can go ahead and see that by bar size, by mesh, by freight item. It just is going to provide you with a lot more of that detail if that is what you are wanting to see. And then you'll see here on your shipping ticket and invoices, it is going to break out that freight and the rebar black as well. So that way you could see what classes and items that were invoiced out. And then our final is that cash receipts report again, or page of the report again. I'm going to go ahead and turn this WBS level back on so you guys can see that we also have the ability to see that broken down by WBS level. So here you're going to go ahead and see that we have these breakouts for that WBS level. So this, on top of running it in detailed, is going to provide us even more detail in regards to the way that we see this report. So we have this broken down by each level of the WBS segment. And then we can even see it further with all of the products that are within that. So you can see that the same product, for example, the RVO 560, is in both of these pull versus the main and the second floor. So you can see just how much is belonging to each of those WBS segments. So this gives you a lot of that more in-depth ability to see where your project is at the current moment. And you can go as simple or as detailed as you would like, depending on what options that you choose within this job tabulation report. So this is going to be a really great tool and report to run just for you to see where your jobs are at the current status and be able to provide details for whatever you want to see.